Today, I'm excited to be sitting down with John Lee, CEO of Air Culinaire Worldwide. John brings a financial background, a big picture mindset, and a Texas-grown leadership style to the role. Under his leadership, Air Culinaire continues to expand its footprint while staying focused on quality, consistency, and making it easier to do business with. John, thank you so much for being here today.
It's a pleasure being here.
So you came into this role with a finance background. How did that experience shape the way you think about running Air Culinaire Worldwide today?
So the main responsibility of a CEO is to have the strategic vision, to set that and drive it, to let you know where the company's going, and then you're held accountable for that growth. But if you don't understand the financial side of that, how are you going to plan for that? Taking care of getting the financial needs. You need to understand the banking. You understand free cash flow so that when you're setting that strategic vision for the company, you got to also know what's the financial obligations. And the main thing on that is not overextending so that if you get into a downturn, you want to be able to handle that. I started my career out in finance, and I spent over 20 years in public companies. And so I've got to watch different CEOs and leadership. I've had some that understand finance, and I've had some that did not understand the finance. And those that didn't, because every business has a cycle, downturn, and you want to be prepared for that, and so that you can weather those storms. And so without having that insight of understanding the financial obligations of your company, it makes it very difficult to fulfill that strategic vision.
Yeah. What was your first job?
So when I graduated college, I went with an accounting degree. I went straight into public accounting. So I worked for a public accounting firm for 3 years, and then I moved out and I worked for publicly traded companies for 20 years before I came over here.
Okay. Interesting. So you're now at ACW, which we're super excited about, of course. At what point did you realize that Air Culinaire was more than just a catering company, but really a trust-based business built on consistency and reliability?
So to properly answer that, I've been the CFO of our parent company for 6 years. And when I became CFO, Air Culinaire reported to me. So I was able to look at it at a very high level. And then 2 years ago, they made me the CEO of Air Culinaire. And so when you start getting into the details of it, you realize we're so much more than catering. I mean, we are at the source a catering company, but we're also a logistics company. We're also a procurement company. We do the shopping. We look for items that are hard to find in certain locations. So it's so much more than that. We're a technology company. We develop technology. So when you just look at Air Culinaire Worldwide, you think it's just catering, but it's so much more than that.
And I've learned that as I learn different parts of like the company. Like I do a lot of the marketing and I'm in that, but as talking to guest relations, talking to you, talking with Paul, I just learned so much. Like I was so interested in the food aspect, and then to learn that you're doing more than that, and it's a whole experience. It's insane. It's incredible.
It's a lot of work that goes into it.
Yeah, it is. Now, when you look ahead into 2026, because we're just in January and there's still 11 months to go, what does growth really look like for Air Culinaire Worldwide?
So at the core of it, we're in the hospitality industry, doing catering. It's a hospitality industry. What we want to look at is maintaining our current customer base and have that hospitality for them, because that's where growth is going to come. We want to, as our customers grow, we're going to grow with them. And so you want to keep that growth looks like maintaining the quality product, making sure we deliver the food on time, making sure that we deliver what they ordered on time. So it's through maintaining your customer base and having that hospitality for them.
So as the footprint grows, quality and consistency get harder. How do you make sure Air Culinaire never loses what made it special in the first place?
when I got here 2 years ago, I implemented a concept called home plate. It's from something I saw years ago, and every employee is supposed to know the answer to these, so we're going to see if you do. How wide is home plate?
17 inches.
What don't we do to home plate?
Widen it.
And what happens if we widen home plate?
We lose integrity.
Correct. And so what that is how that applies in the catering is home plate's a standard. It's a standard that's always been there from the time kids play t-ball all the way up to Major League. Home plate's the same 17 inches. And it's done that way so that there is a standard in no matter what phase you're in, it's always going to be the same standard. And so we try to implement that as well here for every kitchen. You're held responsible for your standards. We know what the customers are asking for. We know what quality, when it should be delivered, and where it needs to be delivered. Mm-hmm. And so one of the examples we use is if it's 10 minutes before closing time and somebody calls in an order and you have that, but it was easier just to make a sandwich and put it in a bag and go, well, you've widened home plate and we've lost integrity. Mm-hmm. So we held everybody to that standard that no matter where we're at, if we're opening more kitchens or buying a kitchen, everybody's going to be held to that standard of quality from us.
Right. Okay. You talk a lot about making Air Culinaire easier to do business with. Why is that so critical to long-term growth?
So that's from listening to our customers. It's regardless if you're talking to flight attendants, charter management groups, every pilot's, it's always the same. We'd like it to be easier to do business with. And so by doing that, we've spent a lot of money in technology. And so we've created a portal where customers can come in, log in, do their orders, and we're getting very close to having a phone app. And so that's going to make it a lot easier for when pilots don't have a crew. They can get on the phone, they can order the food. So the three things, they've always said, make it easy to order, deliver on time, and deliver what we ordered. And so we've heard them what they've said, and so we've invested in that technology to try to make it easier for them so they can focus on other things. They've got to worry about a plan. They've got to worry about where they're trying to get to from point A to point B. They don't need to be worrying about, is my catering going to be here? Is this going to get here? We need to make that process simple for them so that they can go on about their business.
Right. Okay. So we take the stress from them.
That's correct.
Okay. I like that. Air Culinaire recently acquired On Air Dining in the UK. What made that acquisition the right fit, and how does it support the global vision?
So we were familiar with On Air Dining for many years. We've used them as a vendor when we can't get certain things, and so we knew the reputation of their brand. And so we also were looking strategically ahead to know that the Farnborough airport location was growing, that there was going to start being a lot of traffic there. And so we wanted to be there. And when we started looking and through conversations, they came to us and said, we'd like to probably exit. And the owner wanted to go on and do new things. And so it was an existing kitchen. They had a kitchen in Farnborough and they had a kitchen in Stansted. Universal Aviation, one of our companies, has a location in Stansted, so it made sense that now we'd have a kitchen there, and it made a whole lot of sense just to take over an existing catering company that already had a great reputation, and we just implemented our standards, and it's been a really good addition to the Air Culinaire family.
Yeah, okay, that's awesome. We're going to play rapid fire questions just to get to know you a little better.
Okay.
Ready?
Sure.
Okay. Question 1. If you could work from any ACW location for a week, which one would it be?
That's going to get me in a lot of trouble because we have 25 different locations, but because my wife is dying to go there, I would pick Paris.
How could you not? You're right. Next one. What role at ACW would you want to try for one day?
Expo, and there's a reason, because Expo is the last chance before it leaves the kitchen to know that it was right. That person is responsible making sure what they ordered's in there, it's quality, everything's there, and packaging it up so that when it gets to the FBO or the plane, it is exactly what they ordered and it's delivered on time.
That's a good answer. I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is one lesson from childhood you still lean on today?
That little things matter. I'm lucky. I'm the youngest of 5. I've got 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and there's a large age gap between me and my 2 brothers. And so my father sold a company and retired when I was 12. Like I said, he had a tremendous work ethic, and he got bored, so he bought land. We started running cattle. He started a construction company, and so I was there all the time. And so I was the one that was working with him all the time, and I got to see that work ethic. And whether you were running fence posts and building barns, my dad would pay very close attention to the little things. And he said little things matter. And not just in building, but, in life. Saying hello to someone, teaching somebody how to fish, asking somebody what their day is, how's it going, and really meaning that. Little things would go a long way. And so as I developed that same work ethic, I tried to pay attention to the little things. I think a bunch of little things add up to a big thing.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Astros or Cowboys, which one has tested your patience more?
I'm a diehard Cowboy fan, and they have consistently tested my patience.
Okay. Okay. If you could buy any classic car that you wanted, what would it be?
That's an easy one. It's a 1967 Mustang Fastback Shelby GT 500.
So as you look ahead, what excites you the most about where Air Culinaire Worldwide is headed?
The possibilities are endless. I truly believe we're in growth mode. Understanding all the things I've said about growth before, we're doing that as a very calculated process to not take away from the existing customer base. That growth is through technology. We can add new customers, but it's just endless. It's our opportunity, and we're at the phase of growing where it'll be interesting to see where we're going to be in 5 years.
Yeah. All right. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us. It was great to sit down and talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.